And he's picking on me already, and he's just brand new. Wow. Welcome to the Selectmen's meeting of March 18th, 2024. And before we get started, as has been in the past, we will do the pledge. Maybe. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Yeah. So before we get started, I would like to introduce our newest member of the Selectmen, Pete Bakey, on my right, and congratulations to the re-elected Ellie Alicio and Laurie. Congratulations. And so with that, the first item is the reorganization of the board, and so we need to have a chairman and a vice chairman, and then later on we'll pick who's going to be the different liaisons for the different department heads. So at this point I would be pleased to recommend or to nominate, that's the word, Ellie for chairman, and I would entertain a second for that.
Second.
All those in favor? Sure. All right. So it is all in favor for Ellie to be our next chairman for the next year. And I think at this point, we'll do the vice chair before Ellie takes over, just to go through the two. So I would entertain anybody for a nomination for vice chair.
I'd like to nominate Glenn Koppelman for vice chair of the select board.
Second.
Okay, first the second. Any other questions or difference on that? Any other nominations? No. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Just unanimous there, folks. Glenn, congratulations. You'll be the vice chair. And with that, I turn it over to Ellie.
Thank you very much. With the appointments of liaisons and subcommittees, we'll do that under board business if that's okay with everyone else. We can continue on. We had two items out of non-public that need to take action. And one was I need a motion to make Shannon Spitaleri be a permanent part-time employee, effective immediately.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it, and she's now a permanent part-time employee. And the other item we had was we wanted to authorize the building inspector and code enforcement officer to act on behalf of the Board of Selectmen in terms of enforcement of issues of our regulations. And we need to make a special motion on that, to that effect, to authorize Pedro Avila to act on our behalf when necessary. So can I have a motion to that?
So actually, I'm going to make the motion, but I'm going to make it generic,
okay.
Because just in case Pedro was not the person in that position.
Perfect.
So.
Somebody else forgot. Good.
Oh, man, Chuck. See, you started something. So I'm going to make a motion to delegate the code enforcement authority, which is in the hands of the select board by statute, to delegate it to our building inspector / code enforcement officer.
Okay, so we have a second?
Second.
Discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye. Aye.
Unanimous.
that good? First off, congratulations and welcome back and welcome. Look forward to working with all of you. What I gave to Susan tonight is just a deputy warden form for our new hires full-time. What that allows is they can uphold and enforce the forest laws when somebody's burning illegally, when they need to put the fire out, also issuing a permit. So it's pretty standard paperwork that any new hire for the full-time fire department or officer fills out. So that's all I have. Any questions? I wanted to keep it easy for Peter's first meeting.
So this is, not having seen this, this is an appointment form? Or-
Yes, yes.
Okay.
From the state of New Hampshire, so the select board, I think there's only like 3 signature lines there, so you can choose whoever signs it. But, yeah.
This is a standard procedure for new hires of the fire department, to authorize them to be tree wardens as well.
Yes.
Okay.
This is authorizing them to be a tree warden as well? I thought you.
No, forest warden.
Okay,
Yep, yep.
okay.
So they can issue burning permits, enforce the regulations put forth by the state.
Okay.
Somebody can come on a Saturday, let's just say, one nice day or rainy day, whatever the regulations are, and whoever, if one of these fellows is on, they can authorize the permit.
Yes, so that's why. Yep, so that's why we make all of our full-timers, because 99% of the time, there's always a full-timer on. So they'll be able to write a permit out for anybody that wants to burn legally in the town of Kingston.
And that's the sole purpose of this?
Yes.
Is for permits?
Forest Fire Warden Appointment Form. And just for my fellow board members, there are 3 of these to sign, not just 1.
Yes, 3, and then the, actually the blue sheet in the back.
Yep.
On the very last page is we have to delete members and add them on a yearly basis. So some of the people, like Rich St. Hilaire, obviously we took off a few years ago, but he never got removed. So that just allows us to, with your okay, to add and delete people annually.
Okay. I'm going to go ahead and sign all the various spots, and then I'll pass it.
Perfect.
Pass it along.
Sounds good.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, Chief. Any other public comment at this time? Okay. Let's go to old business, well, let's do committee liaison reports.
Yeah,
Chuck?
just for Pete's benefit is that once you get it assigned on a liaison highway or whatever it might be, on the week, I think every week, but when we meet with the department heads, you may have had contact with them, they may have something that they want you to pass on, et cetera. So when you get that is the time to give the report if there was something that they haven't said or they got something in the fire. So I don't have anything at this point.
Okay. I do. I met with Phil and Adam, as Adam had set up a meeting with Gordon Parks, who's the IT director for the schools, because we're trying to get a handle on making sure our equipment, our audio equipment is functioning correctly. Adam has since been able to correct the YouTube broadcasting sound. That seems to be working well, but we do still have a problem with the phones here, the microphones here. Now, Gordon discovered a box, a red box in that little room over there that has a wire going in but has no place else to go. And we think that's the problem with why we're not getting the sound here in this room. We have a bill that's outstanding that's got some equipment that we got and didn't get. And I've also reached out to, actually, Chief Pellerin reached out to me. He said, I may have some suggestion of whom we can contact to at least take a look at the problem, because it's a broadcast problem. It's not necessarily the equipment that we have, although we are missing some pieces, and we need to figure out how we're going to resolve that dispute with the vendor, but that needs to be followed up on. So it's a work in progress.
Is this also have to do with, because we're not broadcasting on the cable channel, is this, are we talking about that as well, or are we just talking about, because I know we have a problem with that equipment, So,
Right, right now, the problem is broadcasting on cable.
well, we're not broadcasting on cable.
That's correct,
Right.
we're not broadcasting,
Right.
that is a problem.
So, what we're just talking about, so the equipment that we purchased, was that to help alleviate that, or was that just a new audio system?
As far as I'm concerned, it was, but I don't know, I wasn't responsible at the time. It was, for a selectman no longer with us was originally involved, and that's
Right.
kind of fallen by the wayside, so we need to pick up the pieces and move forward with this.
Right.
To get it resolved.
Right.
So we know we have it resolved on YouTube through Adam's auspices, but the broadcast is not resolved.
Right.
And so we need some help.
Right.
To have someone come in. That was not something that Gordon could help us with.
Okay,
Okay, so we recognize that, and that's when the chief came forward and said he may be able to make some recommendations to us as to who can help us out and give us some solutions.
Okay.
It doesn't resolve the problem with the bill and what equipment we got that we didn't ask for and what
Right.
we didn't get that we did ask for. So
Right.
that's a whole nother problem as well, but.
and Susan, did we send that email to
I
the
sent
company?
that out, and then I called them on Friday because I hadn't heard anything. I
Right.
left another message with someone else in the office, and he said she'd get back to me, and I have not heard anything. So
Okay, so that was just last Friday?
Right.
yes, so
Okay.
I don't know, if you want to take further steps, but we just want answers to those questions.
Right.
And part of it was the broadcast, if they have any clue what might have got disconnected in the process.
Right.
And, yeah.
Adam has a red box with only one wire coming out of it, but no place to go.
I hate when that happens.
No kidding. So that's it for me. That was the one thing from last week. Glenn?
I don't believe I have anything to report at this time.
For the Solid Waste and Recycling Committee, we met last week. So part of that is to renew our lease for that land, and Susan has already drafted that letter, or did you already send it? Okay.
It's in the packet, right?
Okay, so that was part of it, but we're also planning a schedule for the next several months to hold other events there, like a bulky goods day, a mattress pickup, a drop-off day, a shredding, a clothing drive, so different events that will get people to the collection center. So the minutes will be posted probably tomorrow for review, and we plan on meeting, I don't know, every couple months. We talked about our tax insert flyer that will only take one side of one page, right? So there'll be a free side for some other department to use for the tax insert. So that's all.
Great, thank you. Okay, let's move on to old business, the status update on the Poet Project RFP. And we have the revised RFP, we're all set to go? That's going
Not
out?
quite. The last we knew, our consultant sent it to DES. There was some more questions. They sent it back. Last I knew, they had resolved. They thought they had and sent it back to DES, but we haven't heard anything since then.
It's gone back and forth a couple of times now, and I believe it's now in the hands of DES, although the last note from DES indicated that they sounded like they were getting close, and
Yeah.
We're just waiting for the final word from them so that we can get that thing released.
Okay. That's been a long process,
Yes.
putting it mildly. Okay, another status update is on the preservation easement on historic barns, checklist and flow chart. That was in our packets.
Yeah, Ernie and Bob Bean have been working on that, and I made a few, just cleaned it up a little, and I sent it back. I think there may be a few, Ernie went away, a few more adjustments they might want to make to that checklist, but it's on a number system now, not a percentage.
Okay, Ernie? We were just checking on the barn easement program flow chart. We all set to go with this? Is this your recommendation?
I said it's still in draft form, and you had mentioned you might want to make some adjustments. Yeah, it's close.
Okay. So maybe we could have it for our next meeting in the final form? Does that make sense?
Yeah, that sounds good.
Perfect, thank you.
So, Ellie?
Go ahead, yeah.
I haven't read this, Ernie, but one of the things that was proposed is that the Heritage Commission would do the initial review and pass the recommendation to the Select Board. Is that still how you're proposing this? Okay,
It's in that flow chart,
okay,
I
good.
believe. We'll double check, yeah.
Yeah. Okay, thank you.
Yeah, excellent. They're the ones that, yeah.
Okay,
And
all right.
they'll review the,
No,
the, go
I'm,
ahead.
I'm sorry. What I was asking was, the process that we're establishing.
Right.
That when someone applies for one of these barn preservation easements.
Right.
That before it used to come right to the Select Board, and the Select Board would take some action. What's being proposed now is a more formal process that goes along more with how the RSA defines it.
Right.
And what we're suggesting happen is that rather than it coming first to the Select Board, that it first go to Heritage Commission to go through the checklist that's developed and make a recommendation to the Select Board. And they would do that probably at the public hearing, I would assume, or maybe before.
Okay, yeah, I'm just looking at this flow chart as you're speaking. Okay.
Yeah, we send them a copy, so,
So if someone submits an application to the board, it gets submitted to the Heritage for review first with their recommendation to the Select Board on whether or not to approve it or
Correct.
what status.
and then they recommend a percentage further down the road,
Correct.
so.
I mean, the ultimate decision is the Select Board's, but at least there will be
Another pair of eyes.
another pair of eyes looking at it beforehand, and an organization that has some responsibility for the historical and heritage issues of the town to take a first look at it and make a recommendation.
Yes.
So our intent is to use this checklist on the first one that's coming up. I think we have do we have that public hearing scheduled already?
April 1st.
April 1st, so we'll use this checklist
How
and step
auspicious.
through this process, right?
Yes.
And work out any kinks that we have, and then we can actually finalize the process.
Yep.
Okay.
Okay. Any other comments or questions on? Okay. Next item is a status update again on, also I should say, on the Boston Post cane.
It sounds like the museum committee would be willing to take that on. They're going to discuss it at their April 2nd meeting. And
Okay.
I'm sending them all the information that I have.
Are they going to develop the guidelines as well?
I hope so.
Okay, well, that's something we're going to follow up on that. All right, great. And another status update on the video equipment or experience, I should say. And we just talked about that a few steps ago. And that will be an active agenda item until we get it resolved. Okay, moving on to new, we got 10 more minutes, all right. Lease of state land, the state shed draft request letter in our packets. Comment from my colleagues.
So I have a question on this. It talks about under paragraph 2 of the agreement, but I don't know what the agreement looks like. So it's kind of
Okay.
hard to,
I can send that to you. It's
Okay.
the old one. In the old agreement, under paragraph 2, they listed transportation, a place to meet for public transportation or something like that. Also a library, some of it doesn't apply anymore.
okay,
So, but that's where you state what your purpose for the,
okay. Can you just send the old agreement so that way I can compare the two? Thank you.
So we're going to hold off on this letter then?
So it sounds like we'll table this to,
I would like to, because I
Until
would
we
like
have a
to,
chance
I would
to-
like to read this in
Okay.
comparison to what the original lease said. Because I think they also said that it may have to go through 2 or 3 different bureaus or offices.
yes, that's why we're starting now.
Okay.
Because it's up in the end of the year.
because he just won't.
I worked on it with Phil,
Okay,
so.
all right, great, thank you.
Okay, so you can move that one forward as well, where appropriate. Yeah, okay. Item next is the Otari and Goss Superfund site and a 5-year review questionnaire in our packets.
They contact us every 5 years, and this is what they call their interview with the town, but you can just fill out this little questionnaire. I sent an email out to Joel to ask about unexpected activities at the site. I didn't hear back yet, but most of it's pretty straightforward. It's, I don't think there's anything new out there. I talked to Glenn Greenwood. There's nothing new about the zoning or,
So who is responsible to fill this out?
you are.
Okay. So you and I will get together on this and work it out
Sure,
then?
yeah.
Okay. Kingston Lake Association has requested that the town assist with the annual beach cleanup. I believe we did this last year or the last couple of years, and there's a letter from Mrs. Ingalls in our packets on behalf of the Kingston Lake Association. Comments from the board?
I don't think that's the problem. I think, I mean, it's up to Phil to volunteer his folks, but certainly it's
And we got a
a
thumbs
good
up.
thing to do, so.
Yes, and there was a thumbs up from Phil to do that. So unless there's no objection, we should,
There's not, but I thought there was also, was there a request out there for a sign to be put up there?
I'm just going by the letter that we have
Okay.
in our packets. Not aware of anything.
Yeah.
Mary can answer.
Mrs. Ingalls,
Yeah.
did you want to add something?
Can you come up? Can you come up?
If you just put one of the microphones on and just click it till it turns green,
And draw it near you, Muriel.
and bring it close to you. No, not that one.
Not that one, please.
There you go. Okay.
Okay, I'm all checked out now, right?
You're good to go.
All right, yes, I submitted an application for a sign for the Kingston Lake Association. I thought that was going to be on the agenda tonight. I didn't know what the actual process was, et cetera. And the sign would look very much like the recreation sign at the recreation building. And I was hoping that we could put the sign at the town ramp. And it would have a message board. We would have our decal on the top, Lake Association and our decal, and a message board at the bottom. As you all know, with the newspaper gone, we're all kind of struggling as to how to get the word out about our events. So I was hoping to have a permanent sign, and then we would be able to communicate the various events for KLA.
Well, we don't have any of that information before us. The only thing
I have
before
the
us is
sign
the...
part. I just had the letter about using,
I put all that, I gave all that information, the application, the decal, and everything. I submitted it to the town hall about 2 weeks ago.
did it go to the building inspector?
It was supposed to go,
Okay.
Right, so it hasn't come here
Located.
yet. Muriel. It may go through
Okay.
Pedro as opposed to through us. With regular signs, right?
Well, I mean, you've applied for a sign permit,
yes,
which is good.
yes,
It should come here probably because we're talking about a town entity and it's town property.
right.
So we should weigh in on it, I would think, and I would expect that our DPW director would have some input as well.
So until it gets here, we can't act on it.
Yeah,
But we can act
okay.
on your request for assistance from the town to beach cleanup.
Yes, that's right. I've got two things going
You
here.
got two things going, we only have one in front of
Yeah,
us, so we
right,
can
so
only act on that one, and Phil has indicated that's not a problem, having his crew help out like they did in the past.
I spoke to Lori about it on recycling day.
Yeah.
And I kind of thought it was on the agenda for tonight. And when I looked at it, I saw that it wasn't, but, so I'm new to the application process, so.
Right, and when I saw the agenda, I thought if this was about the sign application,
Right.
so.
So how do I see where it is in the process?
Check with
I'll check.
Pedro tomorrow, or Susan can check for
Yeah,
you.
I'll locate it, and we'll get it to the next meeting if it's ready.
With the check with the building inspector, because I believe all the signs will go through him, but because it's municipal, it may have to come through here anyways.
Okay.
So we have time for next week, if nothing else.
All right, thank you.
Okay, thank you, Muriel. So any other action on the Lake Association for the help at the beach? We're all set to authorize
Do we need-
DPW people to help out, right?
We need a motion?
Yeah, go ahead, yes, make it official.
How do you want the motion to read?
We grant the,
Motion to grant permission to the Lake Association for, no,
no.
no.
Public
Motion to
Works.
honor the request from the Lake Association to have Highway Department help with the beach cleanup.
Perfect. Second.
Don't ask me to repeat it. Okay, all those, further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say no. Ayes have it. And so directed to our colleagues at the Highway Department. Thank you. Okay, we'll get one down and see if we can get the other one cleaned up next week for you, Muriel. Okay, we got 3 minutes. Okay, board business, review of PO box usage responses in our packets. We did a survey of what we had for PO boxes in all the departments, and we got responses back from 5 of them. 2, 3, 4, 5. I don't know if the board has any comments or want to make any changes or leave the status quo as is. Leave it as is, ladies and gentlemen.
My only comment with it is I still, I mean, I obviously see the need for the mailboxes, because each individual departments get separate things. I'm still concerned with invoices going to the department, and then the department getting, processing, sending to Paula, and with our new system, then it's got to go back to be approved, et cetera. So my only suggestion would be that any departments that are getting invoices that you don't necessarily have to get, but would be redirected to the town hall rather than to,
Well, that's why we have the
departments.
policy.
Right, the only thing I would add to that is probably to have, because I haven't read the invoicing policy yet, the draft, is to have the finance director weigh in and have her clarify what kind of invoices are okay to go to the department PO boxes, because I don't think that all of them are, I don't think it's appropriate to have all of them come to the town hall, depending on what the invoice is for. So I think we just need clarification from the finance director, because all of these say invoices, so I hear what you're saying, Chuck. So I think we just need clarification on what that means.
exactly.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
when we review the policy, I think that would be the appropriate
Right,
time to
yeah.
make that final determination. I think that will work out okay there. Anything else in that one there? Okay, yeah. Okay, it's now 7 o'clock, and I think it'd be appropriate to have a public discussion and a listening session, depending on which side of the equation you're on, regarding the replacement of the front hall town's steps at the front town. In front.
I'm gonna take away that. the mic.
That stand-up mic, right?
I think it's confusing.
Yeah. Phil, would you come forward and kind of give us an overview? Thank you, Adam.
Show and tell.
All ready? Good evening. I wish to address the proposed work for the town hall before beginning the presentation. After numerous discussions in public meeting with the Board of Selectmen, it was decided that the funds to fix the stairs, HVAC, and insulation for the town hall would come from the remaining ARPA funds, approximately $250,000. Additionally, the board had discussed having a backup generator installed under a FEMA program which would reimburse up to 50% of the funds. I've spent multiple hours assessing the current conditions of the building and constraints on each system. As the only drawings for the building were the original plans from 1928, this required quite a bit of investigative work. In all of the requested areas to be addressed, there was a theme. Numerous attempts to fix an issue with Band-Aids at the lowest cost that did not meet code then or now. It quickly became apparent that the allocated money would be a stretch. I have always endeavored to provide the best value for the town in any project the Public Works Department has undertaken. For those who haven't read the town report, we were able to remove over $100,000 in one-time costs by using Public Works employees in 2023 in lieu of a contractor. However, what I am most proud of is our department was able to eliminate $61,400 in recurring annual costs. Inefficient heating, inefficient use of fuel, and a partially insulated building would be part of these recurring costs that come to mind during this project. It was with this in mind that we approached this project in order to meet the demands of the project, specifically time, money, the building remaining open, and quality of work. To do all these, innovative solutions were needed. The proposals I brought before the board on 26 February reflect this need. Solutions that address the short-term needs while being part of a longer-term plan for the town hall. For instance, the mini-split system that was proposed will allow for the system currently in place to serve as a backup and be replaced when the time is required in a smaller footprint while still allowing the building to operate. The electrical work will allow us to add a generator in the future while meeting the current code. The stairs are also part of this. These stairs, as proposed, will be held in place by 2 bolts. They can be removed and something else can be installed, but they can also be left for 30 years and be fully functional and structurally sound. The stairs as drawn on the original plans were 2 feet tall, consisting of 4 steps. At some point in the 1930s, this was changed to 8 steps. And again, I'm going to defer to the museum and everybody else who may know better than me, but this is what I was able to ascertain. Records are scant, but in the early 1960s, the stairs were converted to brick and where 6 steps were introduced as they currently sit. At town meeting in 1990, there was an approved motion to repair these for $5,600 with new railings. This was the brick riser granite tread design that was again repaired in 2009 as per the town report of 2009. The current granite stairs were installed in the fall of 2016 at a cost of $48,000. That will make this the 7th attempt to repair these stairs in less than 100 years. I would classify having to do major repairs on these stairs every 15 years as a major recurring cost that is both unnecessary and unsustainable. If we are going to go with the current layout of the stairs, we would first incur the cost of an architect for $6,500. The existing stairs would need to be removed, the foundation fully demolished, and a new base created with load-bearing capacity, and then the new stairs built and installed. And although the granite treads can be reused, I would cautiously put the construction work in the $70,000 range. It will take many months to complete, most likely putting us outside of the window for the allotted ARPA funding, which must be used by December 31st of this year. I did not request more funding for the Building Reserve Fund as the Board of Selectmen had instructed us to minimize our request for the budget year. The Grace Daily barn work will be funded from this account at approximately $40,000. We have 3 parking lots that will need to be paved this year. We also have improper repairs on the Nichols building roof that the most recent estimate shows a cost of $117,000 on top of the $41,000 already spent on the roof in 2018. The roofs on the highway maintenance barn, town hall, and South Fire Station are all past their warranty period and are in danger of being repaired soon. This fund can be depleted before anyone realizes if we do not watch our expenses. It should be noted that the town hall is not on the National Register of Historic Places, and before the campaign starts to place it there, This building is an active office space that is the main place of business for town residents and staff. There are basic requirements for a building of this nature with regards to accessibility and use. The proposed solution addresses fit, form, and function required for safe and efficient operation of the building while being of similar material to previous versions. I can understand that people do not like change, and I wish that funding was such that we could meet all parties' desires, but unfortunately that is not the case. I ask that people keep this in mind as we proceed this evening and beyond. So just for demonstration purposes, there are 3 things that every job typically wants, but you can't have all 3. So these were the issues in the town hall as assessed. And as noted in my previous comments, the ARPA money must be sent by 31 December of this year. This is an example of the stairs as proposed. So currently the front stairs have a subbase issue. It has been an ongoing issue for almost the entire period of time that the stairs have been there. As I stated, the architect would cost $6,500 and construction costs are estimated to be $70,000. The proposal I'm putting forth is to remove the existing foundation, put helical piles or helical piers in there, pour a concrete pad, and then set this precast option. This is what was sitting on the lot at the precast manufacturer. However, the one as proposed would be 8 feet wide and have 6 treads. Also wanted to include the previous version, which would be very similar to this prior to the granite. Had the granite treads with the brick risers on them. It would match that style that was previously there prior to 2018. Additionally, there's this old postcard there. That is the variation from the original drawing that showed the stairs being much higher than what they were originally on the plans for. For those of you who don't know, there's actually a BLM benchmark on the building that was put at 18 inches above grade, and it's now about 4.5. So something major took place in front of the town hall at some point in time. You can bear with the rendering here. I wanted to thank Walt Roy for putting this together, but the proposal is the 8-foot stairs would fit basically within the existing keyhole for the front door. We would then landscape, again, this is an artist rendering, but it would be open to anybody who has thoughts or input on this matter. But right now it's pretty sparse in front of the town hall. So this would open up a lot of space to have plantings, flowers, whatever people would like. But my main point on this is we have been trying for over 100 years to get this right. This would be a one-piece solution that would be put in place and would hold together. It is warranted as such, and it will be 2 bolts holding this in place. So if people wanted to fundraise for a different set of stairs or everybody hated them, we can take them out and put them down at the recycling center and have a pretty sweet set of stairs walking up to the dumpsters. They are reusable, or we could sell them for a couple grand. I mean, they're pretty modular, but given the cost constraints, this is what I could come up with. This saves, these are all pre-engineered, these come with installation drawings, so roughly this is going to be about $15,000 to $18,000 versus $70,000 to $80,000 for another option. So I don't know if you want me to go through the whole presentation again, or if anybody else came because they cared about the oil tank or the ducting.
Depth is good.
Okay.
That's what we're really here to talk about.
So
Thank you.
that's the other issues that'll be addressed.
So I guess I have a question right out. So with the money remaining from ARPA and all of the things that we requested to be done to the town hall, where does that put us for funding with the remaining?
So that's still in progress. I held off on getting more estimates while this was being determined, what we're I know the select board had voted to go proceed with this, but obviously we're having a public hearing regarding a large portion of this, so I'm waiting on the outcome of that. I have met with Unitil. There is a pretty substantial investment in the insulation that's going to have to take place in this building if we do want to have the proposed heating system to be efficient. We can't have the entire third of the back building completely open masonry sucking the heat out of the building. So I met with Unitil this morning. They put us in contact with a contractor so we can get more finalized numbers, but the other thing we're waiting on is for the mini split systems. I've gotten a quote for engineering for that, which I think we should do. They should be sized appropriately to the offices we're putting in. Again, drawings so that those can be referenced moving forward as we implement this phased plan that I'm trying to put together here. So there are a lot of variables still that we don't know. But I think the more money that we can put into insulation and energy efficiency upgrades for this building, the longer term benefits we'll be reaping from that. So I don't have all the answers yet, but it's going, I mean, we were looking at potentially funding half of the generator off of this. I don't think that's even realistic. I think the electrical upgrades that we have to do that we weren't planning on are going to eat a pretty significant chunk of things. So short answer is, I don't know.
So I think the reason I'm asking that is because we have a finite dollar amount that left in the ARPA funds, and we have a lot of work that we want to do to the town hall. And that prioritizing those tasks, we did that. So that leaves only a certain amount of money for aesthetics and for function for the stairs, really is what we're getting at.
Correct.
And so is it more important that we have functioning heat and oil and mini splits and electrical in the building, right? Or, so we just have to weigh that. So I think that's really what this discussion is about, right? We have to make sure that the town hall is functional because it is an office space, and then also weigh getting into the building. So, all right, thanks, Phil.
Other comments from the board?
Has there been has there been any thought to, if we're redoing the whole steps, is to use some of the infrastructure fund? Not the infrastructure fund, the dump fund, I guess is the better way to put that. I forget whether that needs a warrant article or it's just, I think that the selectmen can spend that. Anyway, it wouldn't affect the arbor. It is there. To me, that's kind of one of the things that we could use it for.
What funding are you talking about? The landfill money?
Yeah. There's like 4 million in there, I think.
I don't know how we could use that for the town hall.
Use it for anything.
Okay.
Yeah, it's not restricted.
It's not a
But it
restricted
would go to the voters. I believe it would go to the
Yeah,
voters.
I'd have to, I don't know whether it.
And just as a point of reference, in the past, when there's been major expenditures that aren't of emergency nature taken out of the building reserve fund, that has gone to the voters as a warrant article.
That's correct. That's correct. I think what we're looking for, and I appreciate your work on this, Phil, is we want to have an overview of what needs to be done, and you've made a good start with it. The steps are visibly painful reminder of the problems with this building, and it would be nice to get them resolved. So the purpose tonight of the hearing is to give the community members an opportunity to weigh in on that before the board makes a decision. The ARPA funds don't necessarily have to be spent this year, but they have to be designated this year and spent with it by the end of 2025. But by 2024, December 31, we have to designate to the federal government exactly what we're going to use it for. So it behooves us to move quickly in the next few months to make some decisions and get the work in progress, if you will. Mr. Bakey.
First of all, Phil, I appreciate it. That was a great presentation, and you've obviously put a lot of homework into this. But I got to tell you, by reading this paragraph that you wrote here, to me, it's very confusing. I mean, I'm kind of a numbers guy. So you threw out the replacement steps of the man-made steps, whatever you want to call those. On this sheet of paper, it shows $6,585. That's followed by to replace the existing design, which would be $20,000 to $40,000. So immediately, we want to get drawn to that 65, 85. But then as you follow your sentences down, the manufactured steps would actually cost a total of $15,000 without the landscaping. I mean, landscaping, 5 or 10 grand, so now we're up to $25,000 for poured concrete steps, when we're looking at $20,000 to $40,000 to replace the existing. So it just seems like there's a big jump there from 65, 85 to now we're almost $20,000 to put some poured concrete steps out there. So this doesn't decipher it enough of where those costs are. And that's a little confusing by reading that paragraph.
Those are my minutes, so I might have.
Yeah, that's, and I mean, you got a lot of time in this, and I do appreciate that, but that's, I mean, I'm looking at that going, there just seems like a huge variable there, we're bouncing all around, so I apologize.
Yeah, and so this was 3 weeks ago. I've been doing a lot of research since then. Obviously, one of the big ones is the work that took place there for $48,000 back in 2016 is a big driver in that price. I think we should probably figure a factor of 30% loss in those granite pieces as we're demoing what's going on there. And talking to a few people who saw when that stuff was removed, the mass of the foundation that's there existing, that's going to have to be removed, is a lot larger than what I had previously thought. So as far as the 6585, that is the straight up cost for the stairs from Shea Precast as of today, delivered. There would be an additional $400 or $500 for the railings installed on there. I'm figuring approximately $220 per helical pile, and I figured 6 helical piles. And then, depending on the size of the concrete pad that we wanted, basically between $15,000 and $18,000, just conservatively is where I'm putting it.
All right, thank you, Bill.
For the turnkey solution.
Thank you.
The other one is, depending on what the architect came up with and what was needed, it's very variable.
Thanks.
Okay, thank you, Phil. So let's start hearing from some of our bated breath audience members, and we'll start with Mr. Ernie first. Come on up, have a seat, bring the microphone close, you can leave it right on the table and make sure it's on.
I have a few photos also that could go up on the screen, and
Okay.
rather than me trying to do that, as much trouble as Phil had, would it be okay for Adam to just put them up there?
Sure, if you can do that, it'd be awesome. Yeah.
Great, thank you. Yeah, I'll just let him. I'm technologically challenged, so that wouldn't work. I guess I've heard a lot of new information in some respects as far as the costs. Some information I wasn't really aware of as far as the stairs and the history of the stairs. This picture here is a picture from provided by the museum committee that is believed to have been sometime around the dedication period when that building was dedicated. And it's got the 6 or 7 steps on it right there. So it appears as though the steps may have been in that fashion right at the beginning of this life of this building. They look like granite to me. I don't see any brick on them, so I'm assuming that that's what they were at that time. Adam, can you do another one? That's the postcard that Phil showed you. That's from about early 1930s. It's from Frank Swallow had a postcard company in Exeter and did them, and he died in 1927. His wife kept the business for a number of years going into 1930. So we know that that's a 1930s postcard. Again, it looks like to me that the stairs are granite rather than granite or brick with granite on top of them. So with respect to the issue of when the stairs were granite and when they weren't, I think that's up in the air. If Phil's got real specific information about those dates that he brought up, then I don't know where we are as far as that goes, as to that question of when would they grant it and when would they not grant it.
They've obviously been both.
Pardon me?
They've been both.
It could have been they were both,
Right.
maybe they were, maybe they
Some
weren't.
point, yeah.
I don't know. This is what I was able to get from my research. I think the key for me is the town hall is really the key architectural element of the downtown. I mean, it's iconic. It's a building that's the focal point for the center of town. It's the center of our government, and it's a major facility in town that everybody views on a daily basis and comes to on a regular basis. And I think it's important to try to maintain as much of that historic character as we can. Back in 1929, there were about 1,100 people in town, and they sat back and said, we need a really good town hall, and that's what they gave us. And I think it's up to us to maintain that legacy of what they did for us by giving us that town hall. It would be good to respect their legacy, I believe. Again, the stairs are a major character defining feature. When you're working on historic preservation, you try to maintain the major historic characters of the facility that you're working on, and those stairs are the major character of this building. And so I think it's important that we keep that in mind. I think we need to balance the dollars that we need to spend along with the historical nature of the building and our heritage, because once we lose that, we lose everything. We've lost the Grace Daly House a number of years ago. We lost the fire station just a year, maybe or so ago. And we're gradually losing the historic character of this downtown area of town. And the more we lose, the less we are Kingston, and the more we are just any town. And so I think it's really important to keep that in mind. This is not a small change, obviously, and Phil showed you the pictures of the building with the new stairs and the landscaping with it. I have those again. I won't show you those again, but I think it's just, we need to just maintain the unique character and sense of place that Kingston has and is. And I think the more we start to erode those key features of our historic character, the more we're going to lose our sense of place, and it makes us less of a community, I think. So I'd ask that we look at all options for what we do at those stairs, rather than pose such a drastic change as this at this point. I don't know whether the DPW director has actually had formal assessment of the stairs or not, as far as what the cost to have them repaired would be, but I think if not, I think it would be important to do that. I think as a town, we have not had a practice of having specific specifications for our projects that we need to have done, nor I think have we gone out and gotten really good bids and held people accountable for that work. In a lot of cases, we've just gone into the work without having done the due diligence, I think, as far as the bid process. And I think that's an area that we need to make sure that we do, particularly in this case. And that's about all I have.
Thank you, Mr. Landry.
Yeah, thank you.
Anyone else like to speak? Yes, sir.
How you doing, everybody, tonight? My name's Ed McDevitt. Lived in town here since
Could you sit down,
1983.
please, and speak into the microphone, tell us your name and where you live?
I didn't hear you.
Oh.
Put the microphone in front of you.
Make sure it's on green.
And just state your name for the record.
My name's Ed McDevitt.
Thank you.
In reference to the stairs, been in the concrete business for 50 years. We're trying to use a residential product on a building will experience high traffic use again. The railings will be rotted off of them in 6-7 years. They're not stainless steel. We're going to use ice melt, we're going to use rock salt. We say $15,000 roughly, $20,000. We do it twice. We've paid for the repair of the stairs. I don't think, in my own opinion, I don't think it's a very good way to go. How many people have shade concrete steps on the front of their homes? How many times do you use your front door? You don't. Okay? The life expectancy is not going to be there. I think we're throwing money away that everybody in this room is going to regret the day in 5 or 6 or 7 years from now when we're all sitting back here and say, we just did them. And I know we keep looking at a 100-year history of redoing the steps and redoing the steps. But what we have now, salt doesn't touch them, calcium doesn't touch them. All we know is, I know it's the understructure failed. I don't know how them stairs were built, if they were built off of a concrete structure underneath them. I've done them many times. I came and looked at the stairs today, and it's every time there's no maintenance done to them. Every time there's a crack or something, we run to Home Depot, we get a bag of sand and cement, we put in it, not the right product to be using. Anything that's happened out there is negligence of not taking care of it. It's just like painting your house, washing your car, or anything else. If you don't take care of them, they're not going to last. So it's a good idea. I don't think the town's going to be happy with it after a couple of years of winters that, ice melts thrown on them. And I think the budget can be narrowed down a lot cheaper than what, up to $70,000. I mean, we already own the granite. If you had to buy that granite today, I can tell you right now, it'd be over $100,000 just to buy the granite. And you know what we're going to do with that granite? We're going to take it down the barn. A piece is going to go here, a piece is going to go there, and a piece is going to go there, and before it's all going to be gone. Because we can build a wall with it over here. It's, the history of the building. The building's 100 years old. Leave the stairs, fix them, put the money, find the money. Our snow plows hit the ground 5 times this winter. Where'd all that money go? What are we going to do when it starts snowing, 5 times a week?
Okay, let me understand you, Mr. McDevitt. You're saying that we should repair and replace the steps we have?
Take the granite off,
Yeah.
stack it out in the parking lot, put a new structure underneath, put the granite back on top, put stainless steel railings in. You'll never touch them things for 100 years.
Okay.
Again, if it's done right. You remember, every time we've done this project, the building materials have gotten better and better and better. So you can't compare it to when the stairs were brick. It was destined to fail. We put granite tops on them. It was still destined to fail.
Okay. Yeah, these steps were put in 2016.
No, I just feel as though that the town could, put it out to bid, and you'd find some reputable companies that, that you'd get a lot closer price than what you think.
Right, right. I would agree with you, and we will be putting it out to bid, but in the meantime, we have to have an idea of what we're looking for, I guess, to give bid specs. So, but thank you. Any questions? No, I appreciate your comments, sir. And yes, Maddie, Mrs. Willett.
Madeline Willett, 189 Main Street. I guess I want to start off with just saying that we have such a beautiful historic town, and we really have to honor that. We are one of the most beautiful towns in New Hampshire, and other towns would kill for our town center. And in order to honor that, we have to take care of the buildings that we have within our town center. We just have to honor them. Otherwise, if we do a quick fix, they just won't be the same, as Ernie was saying. In order to honor that history, it's just, if you look at Washington, D.C., if they were going to fix these steps on the Lincoln Memorial, they would never take them off and put precast stairs. They just wouldn't do that. We just have to do it right. But in saying so, I also think that we should not just put things out to bid. I think we've been talking a lot about community involvement. and how to get community involved within the town. And by asking community, we must have masons within this town that could volunteer their services, kind of do like a barn raising for the stairs, so to say. Get expertise, get equipment. We have the granite already. I know in the town of Exeter, they have tree services. I think there's 4 or 5 that volunteer their time, their expertise, their equipment. They go all the way down Swayze Parkway and they prune those trees, they brace those trees and fertilize those trees every year. And they volunteer that to that town. And that is great advertising for them. So we could do so in turn for anyone that volunteers their time for our projects, and not just this project, all projects within town. So I just really think that there's a way that we can save these stairs and honor our history and do it right, because we need to be able to hand off these buildings, we're not going to live forever, to the next generation and let them enjoy these beautiful surroundings as well. That's what I have to say.
Thank you, Mrs. Willett. Anyone else like to speak? Yes, Elaine. Behind you, Dan. Hold on. He's younger. We're going to make him wait a little bit more.
And the trick is,
Just
talk
pull it
close to
closer.
it.
Yeah, there you go.
I like well, actually, I have some problems with the old stairs because don't walk very well. But the new stairs, I mean, the proposal, I missed how wide they're going to be. 8 feet.
Okay, just state your name and your
address.
address.
I forgot.
That's
Eileen Clifford, New Boston Road. I'm sorry.
No problem. Thanks, Elaine.
And again, if I had this is a hall where many people come, and everybody, if something goes wrong, I know there's little stairs there that I've never been down, and stairs, but most people are going to try to get out the front door, which is how wide? Pretty wide. 8 feet. The door is 8 feet?
Well, that keyhole in the front is 8.5 feet total.
So if you were behind me, who doesn't have full use of one of my legs, you're going to have a fit if there's something wrong, and you got to get out those stairs, and I'm walking down backwards or something. So I would be concerned a little bit about that, the number, when you look at a hall or a movie theater or a church, many doors, many entryways. And I would think we'd want this, I'd be concerned about the same thing. And it didn't look like nothing, I don't think they look bad or anything, the proposal, but it looked kind of small. It looked more like a house stair, not a hall stair. That's just my thought. And I do struggle with these new ones. I mean, well, I still think of them as new, but they do really, in the pictures, they really do look kind of neat. And I agree with Ernie in a lot of that. But my concern would be, can we get out them? And you have to have railings every 8 feet or something, and would they really work when this place is full of people? So just another aspect of, and I know money and history, and you hate to make compromises, but sometimes you have to. So, thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Mr. Doyle. I know.
Dan Doyle, 156 Main Street. I would invite you guys to come over to look at the concrete steps at Bakey Elementary and the high school. They are poured-in-place concrete stairs, which are much more durable than precast, and I'm looking at replacing them all already and tearing them out. They will not withstand the weather, the salts, the thaw freezing cycles that take place in this region. There's a reason why our highway crews use granite for curbing and everything else in the state, because concrete just will not hold up. The high school is going to be 19 years old this summer, and I'm already looking at tearing out the whole loading dock and replacing it because it's not holding up with the weather. So, and those are heavily used, just much like these stairs will be here. But I recommend you take a look at what we have at our school and the issues we have there and see what's happening with concrete stairs. They will not last. They will not last at all. Thank you.
Can I ask if you've sealed those annually?
No, but there's enough grease on those stairs at the high school from the kitchen that I'm sure they bead water, believe me, but no, we do not seal them at all. But they are poured in place concrete, which is a lot more durable than precast concrete. Thanks.
Yes, Mrs. Morse, excuse me. Thank you, Mr. Blair.
Virginia Morris, 188 Main Street. People have spoken about the historic nature of the building and the beauty of the way it is now, so I'm not going to speak about that. I have a couple of questions about the legality. Excuse me, I need a glass of water, I guess. But first of all, I can't imagine what it's like to try to run a budget and maintain the old buildings in this town. It's got to be a real challenge, and that's a lot of work that you're putting in on this, Phil, and I appreciate that because there's a lot that needs doing here. At the original presentation, there was a mention of putting a handicap ramp on the front. Is that not a consideration anymore?
So my statement at that time was it would have the ability, if we wanted to put a handicapped ramp on there, it could be done. That was not in the plan for this project.
Okay. And are we legal having access through the selectman's office door and our,
Yes. Downstairs with the elevator coming
with the
up.
elevator?
Yes, that's all regular.
Okay.
Regulation.
So this would be a repair, and therefore, we're all set with the elevator, and we don't have to talk about the ramp. It's just that it could be done.
Correct.
Okay, that was my concern. And I think people have spoken very well about the beauty of the building as it stands now and the materials that are used, traditional granite and all. So I won't go any more about that. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Harris. Yeah, Mr. Willett.
Scott Willett, 189 Main Street. So I won't repeat what the others have said, but I'm supportive of trying to reproduce the stairs in the fashion they are today and not go with the narrow precast form. And I just want to remind everyone that anyone who owns property in the Historic District, if you want to make a change to the front of your house, you'd have to come to the Historic District Commission. And they'll give you advice, and they'll go through the rules and the guidelines. Like Ernie said, they're really oriented around restoring the building, preserving the architectural features, like these stairs in the front of this building. So it really, we should really, follow our own rules, lead by example when we're on one of our town buildings to do something that, we kind of expect our residents to do. Like others have said, if you're in the town and you drive through it every day, there's a time where you start to take it for granted. When you travel outside this area and you look at other towns or people come from outside this area, you really start to value what we have. We have an intact, huge historic district around the Main Street area with the plains. Other towns would kill for that, right? So we need to really be conscious of that and preserve that. We're just stewards. We're just passing through. I'm not going to be here for another 100 years. None of us are going to be here, but these buildings will sure withstand that. So we need to be good stewards. Now, Mom always said, don't just come up and complain, but come with solutions. So I would like to say, if this were my house and I had a project to do, and I thought maintaining the stairs the way they were was the right way to do it, but budget, I don't want to be unsensitive to any budgets here, but I would wait. I would until I had different funding, until they could do it right. I wouldn't do something temporary that had to be ripped down later. I would save it, invest, towards what I really want it to be. I think the idea of using volunteerism, ask for volunteers, ask for RFPs, try and find ways to make the community part of it. This can turn into a real win-win. Ernie has done fantastic things with the library, not just Ernie personally, has done fantastic things with the library and the cemetery on the Plains Cemetery. Those types of things, you can see the interest. Anytime there's a historic preservation type of project. You know, the town loves its historic district and is willing to get involved. So I think we can leverage those and maybe turn this into a big thing, a good thing. And no disrespect to, you know, Phil's getting beat up over here. There certainly is it's not an easy job, understood. But I think in both cases, you need to take down what's there, the demolition. You need to put in a new foundation, right? We all agree on that. It's a matter of what you put on top of it. So I think that's where, you know, some of the costs are the same, no matter which option you choose. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Lett. Any other comments from the audience? Yes, Mrs. Flanders McDougal.
Thank you. Jeff Flanders, McDougal, Main Street, Kingston. I would agree with the previous speakers. I just wanted to have a point of, I guess, clarification. If we had a ramp, there's still going to be a handicap accessibility issue, because you get to the top of the stairs, and then there's another additional few stairs you have to come up. So I think the elevator should be our only form of egress for people that are handicapped.
Thank you. Mr. Russman.
Hi, Rick Russman from Beach Drive. You know, I come to most selectmen's meetings, and I have to admit, I feel incredibly bad for Phil, because everything that he tries to do in terms of saving the town money, he gets his head handed to him on these things, which I think is unfortunate. At the same time, it would be nice, sure, to preserve the stairs the way they are, and they've sat this way for 4 years. If they have to sit for another 2 years in terms of either raising the money through a capital reserve, I mean, I've been on the budget committee for a lot of years, and now I'm not, but I mean, when the fire department doesn't get their capital reserve, and the highway department doesn't get the capital reserve, that there's a message there. And it troubles me that there isn't enough money to go around here. We need all these things for the town hall, and it's up to you folks and your wisdom to try to figure out and sort that out. But whether or not we need to have a capital reserve fund towards the steps for a couple of years to get the money that would do it right, that may be. I don't know. I mean, there's an old country western song that says you can have it all, but not right now. And so, you know, somehow we've got to come to grips with that, and at the same time do everything else that you have to do. And I don't envy you for being where you are, but certainly it is a nice old building. And I mean, I was here when they refinished the floors the last time, and that was a lot of years ago, and the floors refinished in this building rather badly. So I mean, these are just things that and maybe there's got to be a capital reserve fund just for the town hall itself. I don't know, but I don't envy you, but thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Russman. Any other comments from the audience? Okay. Comments from the board? Or you want to think about things?
My only
Mrs.
comment would be, the fact is that maybe we wait and we put in a warrant article for whatever, once we get the exact price of what it would cost to replace it again for next year, put in a warrant article. The only problem with that, of course, is if they turn it down, then we're out another year. But that is the way that the townspeople themselves would have the input to either want to do it or not want to do it. Other than that, I mean, I guess I would ask Phil to try to get an exact figure on what it would cost to replace the whole thing. If that, in my opinion, if that takes an architect or somebody to come in to design it, to look at it, whether we do it or not is another question, but we don't know exactly what it will be, what it would cost, how much work, you know, as you have indicated, you guys can do with lifting some of the stuff out and taking the stuff out. So it might be worth looking into getting the exact pricing before we decide which way to go. That's have.
Okay, Laurie?
Well, first, I'd like to thank you, Phil, because we gave you a task and you answered it, and now everybody's beating you up. So I want to thank everybody's input, because it's really important, right, that we get input from the town and not just make a decision, because the decision that we would have made probably wouldn't have been the popular one, right? Because we do have to think, we're responsible for the budget. And whether it's ARPA funds or not, we still have a finite amount of dollars. And we want to, as I said earlier, we want to make sure the building functions, right? People have to work here every day. And they want to make sure the heat works and the air conditioning works and the electric works and it's safe and all of that stuff. And which is equally, if not more important than the look of the stairs, understanding the heritage, right? So again, Phil, thank you for providing options, and it looks like we have a lot to think about and a lot to talk about on which way we want to move forward.
So I also appreciate Phil's work on this. I know you've been at this for a while, and you've been presenting to us, and I got to say it's pretty good to see the number of folks who have shown up here tonight. You know, regardless of what side of this you're on and what your position is on it, but I mean, there are as many people here as we've had in some of our deliberative sessions, so that's pretty good.
Well, it said that tells us something.
You're right. But that said, my preference would be it's already been stated by most of the individuals who have spoken tonight. We have the materials for the existing stairs. The issue seems to be what is supporting them. Mm-hmm. And if there is a way that we can get a more accurate number on what it would cost to remove those blocks, build a correct base for them, and put them back, that would be my preference going forward.
Mr. Bakey.
First of all, again, thank everybody for coming tonight. And one thing I did say when I was running for this position, there's a difference between listening and hearing. And we're hearing you. One comment that the woman in the back had stated, and it really lit me right up. I mean, we have a lot of people in this building, and God forbid we had an emergency. I can't imagine everybody going down through an 8-foot wide staircase. And that's public safety. We get the fire chief in the back. He's probably thinking the same thing. But it's a thought. It's a thought that possibly, it's a safety issue. And I'm in favor as well of doing the research and trying to find out, to get some bids, get some professionals. We had one speak tonight, and get their input on the idea. And I think we should wait. And as Rick said, that it's been 4 years like that, so another year is not going to hurt to try to do a little bit of research versus putting a Band-Aid on the front of the building. I don't think that's personally the right way to go.
I think I have another question. So we're talking about ARPA funding here, but don't we have a capital improvement fund or capital reserve fund? Why aren't we talking about that to help fix this? I think I don't understand the purpose of that if we're not talking about that funding.
We're not eliminating that. We're looking at this building in total. There's a lot that needs to be done to this building. And so we need to develop a master plan over the next several years. This building is not gonna get upgraded in 1 or 2 years.
Right.
So the source of funding may be varied, including impact fees or capital improvement or ARPA funds.
Right, and I'm sure that Phil can enlighten us, but I mean, there is a capital reserve fund for building maintenance, but it's not just this building, it's for all buildings in town.
Right.
And as Phil clearly stated, there are some big issues that need to be fixed, and I'm guessing that there isn't enough in that capital reserve fund to fix everything. And the voters turned down even what we reduced the amount to for this year's capital reserve request. So, I mean, we're further in the hole than we would have been.
And how is that money prioritized on what it's spent on?
This board makes that decision, the select board does.
Based on the recommendation of the DPW director, this board would approve those expenditures.
Okay.
The past few expenditures have been the roof on the Nichols building, the stonework on the Nichols building, and the Grace Daily barn. Those went before the voters as a warrant article to authorize the withdrawal from that capital reserve fund.
So any withdrawal from that fund has to go be a warrant
It
article?
does not require that, but past practice has been that unless it's an emergency item, it goes before the voters.
Go ahead.
I mean, as part of our research here, if that's the direction we're going, we probably ought to get an up-to-date number on where we are with that fund and what things we're possibly looking at using it for.
Absolutely. Because if some of the other, I mean, it's a long list of things to fix in the town hall, right? So if we could shift some of that to there and it frees up more ARPA money for the stairs, I mean, there's just, I feel like there's a lot of pieces to this puzzle that we haven't fully explored.
Yeah, and on just, you know, it's beating a dead horse. I mean, we've already said it, a couple of us have, that, you know, until we have a really good number of what it would, we have the number of what it would cost to put a different option in the front, but I don't think we have correct me if I'm wrong, Phil, I don't think we have a good number of what it would cost to remove that, build a new base, and put the blocks back. But maybe you think you've got a good idea. I haven't seen a number, but at least not a.
So the only quotes I've gotten are from an architect, and obviously what they come up with will drive what the cost is. So before I spent $7,000 on a fact-finding mission, I figured I'd present alternatives.
Chief Pellerin.
So a few things. So bring up life safety with the stairs outside. Technically, you only need them as wide as the doorway, because that's really your point of egress, and so the both doors equaling probably about 6 feet, 36 inches apiece, so 8 feet would probably cover it. Now, looking past that, right, you're narrowed down and funneled down to just that 8 feet, where now you can go out to the sides and all that stuff. If Phil's talking about an architect just for the front stairs at $7,000, I had talked to SMP Anthony that did our building, the fire station. And one thing that Anthony predicated on and focused on the entire time is, if you look at our archway to the main entrance, it's the same archway as Clark's Oil. So he was very specific in keeping the downtown historic preservation alive and moving forward. The problem, and that bid came in at $18,000. So for the whole building, for an architect to come in, and I've talked to Phil about it, I've talked to the board in the last meeting, that for the entire building to be done, to do a needs assessment for every office in this space, because we already have offices that we've had to move upstairs over in the last vote. Both were voted down, but you have Robin that wants to move full-time, another part-time building clerk, so we're potentially adding more positions here, which means more office space. So we all know the history of Kingston, and we try to cheap out as much as possible, myself included, but how much did it take us to come to the current century with IT? How much did it take for us to come to the current century with the fire department or pay? So again, I'm going to employ you to consider an architect for the entire building. Because Rich St. Hilaire brought forth the architect to the select board, because after building the fire station, I know some fire codes, Rich knows how to build stairs, Rich knows how to build a driveway, but for an architect to do the entire project from A to Z, and obviously I would want to go with SMP because they did such a good job with the fire station, but get 2 other bids if you want. I talked to Anthony from SMP. He said he would honor that $18,000 that he gave us 2 or 3 years ago. It would also include the front steps, and he said because Rich and him used to joke about that was Rich's only mistake in his 40 years was the front steps. So, but he told me that he would not want concrete steps in the front of this building because of what he knows Kingston to value, as you heard tonight. So just my 2 cents of, I think we're making mistakes and putting a Band-Aid on the entire building. Phil does his research. He's done very well. But that needs assessment list of doing HVAC first, doing the homework to see how much money we're spending to heat the outside of the back of the building because there's no insulation, and the electrical and the generator, and, you know, looking instead of 10, 12 years down the road, looking 50 years. He built, SMP designed that fire station to last 50 years. So I would hope that we do the same with this building. Thank you.
Thank you, Chief. Further comments? Well, I have to weigh in by saying I agree with Chief Pellerin. I'd rather see an assessment of the building and have a 5-year plan or 10-year plan if need be, and do it with forethought, being mindful every step of the way. I have to say, you know, the front steps, it's been like this for 4 years, and we built them, repaired them, replaced them 8 years ago. I'd hate to be facing this every 4 years. I think that's outrageous, which, to be honest, I lean more towards the prefab. However, if there are alternatives today that we could do more with it in the long run, that would be great. But I don't think a piecemeal approach is the right way to go. I think we need to look at the full building and have a plan. If we're going to have the chance of getting volunteers, that'd be great, but you're still going to have someone overseeing the project or different aspects of the project. And I'm not as optimistic about that kind of volume of volunteers coming forward to have a barn raising on the stairs. And I'm sorry, I wish I were more optimistic, but I'm not right now. So that's my personal opinion. I would rather hire an architect and take advantage of SMP's offers for $18,000. That's not a bad price to assess this building and move forward. Well, you still have to do an RFP regardless. It doesn't matter, but if, you know. Any other comments, questions? Yeah, I thank the public for coming. It's been a terrific turnout, and we really appreciate your support. And we'll let you know as we continue, because we'll want you back again, I'm sure, for sure. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you for putting this on the agenda so we can speak about it. It's very good.
We'll try to do it more often, Virginia.
Thank you all for coming out.
Thank you, Phil.
Thank you, Phil.
Okay, we still have a few more items on the agenda. Give people a chance to get out. I'll start signing some stuff here. You go. Yeah, well, it's not too bad.
Tax side.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah, the tax abatements is what we need to do. And the liaisons. Those are the two.
do that last, yeah.
We'll do that last, okay.
Because we got a little more work to do on the steps, right?
Well,
All right, Adam, we're going to do a quick break. We'll be back at 10 after.
a health break. Call the meeting back to order at 8:12 so that we can. That's a good question. All right. Thank you, Paula. Paul will help us with minutes in the meantime. We're going to start with the property tax abatement applications that are in this orange folder here, and then I'll go back and do some of the other ones. We had 5 requests for an abatement that our assessors had reviewed, and I need to state that I think it's the best job I've seen in these requests in the last several years, and we have a new company doing the job, and I think they're doing a good work. The first abatement request is from Kevin Lean, 42 4th Street Realty for tax year 2023, and the assessor said, we recommend the abatement be denied, but the assessment be reduced to $530,100 as opposed to $540,400. And he reviewed the subject's property, compared it with other similar properties in town, and that's his recommendation. Do I have a motion?
A motion to accept the assessor's recommendation on this application.
Okay, reducing the assessment to $530,100.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, that motion carries. The second item is, again, also Kevin Leon, regarding Teresa Frazier, 4 Kelly Road. They asked again a tax abatement. The assessor has said, we recommend the abatement of $614,000 be denied, but that the assessment be reduced to $702,000 as opposed to the $745,000 original assessment.
Motion to accept the assessor's recommendation to reduce the assessed value as stated.
Second.
Discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no. Ayes have it. This is for 4 Hillside Road for the Doggett family. Their assessment was originally $538,700, and their recommendation is that the request be denied, that they don't qualify given their parameters of their suggestion.
So this one's just an outright denial?
Outright denial, correct.
Motion to accept the assessor's recommendation of denial on this one?
Second?
Second.
Discussion? Okay. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no. Okay, ayes have it, and the request is denied. This is for 33 Morning Dove Road. They recommend the abatement be approved for $743,700 as opposed to $858,300. Motion?
Motion to accept the assessor's recommendation to, this is reduction of the
The
assessment?
assessment, right, yeah.
Okay.
I agree with
As
both points.
stated?
Yep. Okay, all further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say no. The ayes have it. And we have one more for Parmento on 66 Main Street. And the assessor recommends that the abatement be denied. Okay.
Make a motion to accept the assessor's recommendation to deny the request?
And a second?
Second.
Discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no. Ayes have it. You want, while we're doing these, can we just finish off the other things that need to be signed, and then that's done, and then all we have left is the liaisons and assignments there?
Well, there's a couple of, I think, probably under board business that I have.
I know Peter has one other item to go to for board business as well.
And I have one as well.
Yeah.
All right, let's get the signature things out of the way. How's that sound? This is the letter for the state of New Hampshire. on the lease agreement with the property down the end of the town there. This is for appointments to public office of Don McCarthy for Solid Waste Committee, for Shaw Tilton Conservation Commission, for Linda Foss, the Conservation Commission, for Gregory Senko, also for Conservation Commission, and Caitlin Milome, Deputy Town Clerk, Tax Collector.
So we have, so there's 2 copies going around.
We assigned them all. Yeah, we just signed those.
Okay.
Well, no, because there's one missing here. We don't have Don McCarthy's over here.
All right, I'll let you match those up. Okay. Well, they are. This is a notice of intent to excavate. Do we need a motion on this?
Caitlin, Greg, Shaw.
Door Road?
Which one are you doing?
This is the one that's missing.
Which, Don?
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Yeah. Do we need a motion on that, Susan? Okay.
What is it? We have
It's
8
for-
things going on right now.
It's for the notice of intent to excavate for Toromio.
Okay.
That's over here. This is a purchase order from the PD for this is on the website, not for the PD. It's for the update the website for $6,170. That's the purchase order in there. This is recycling and waste management volunteer service statement and agreement.
Those are the things I
Are
wanted to
those
talk
duplicate?
about. I wanted to talk about those.
Okay.
About this volunteer statement. So before we sign them.
Okay. We have a permanent application for property tax credit exemptions. That's a veteran, correct, and that's all been checked out, correct, Susan? All right. And this is for intent. This is yield tax assessed. Yeah.
And even if they do come back and say, oh, wait, we didn't have that much, we double whatever their tax.
Okay, so, all right, do we need to take action on it other than to sign it?
Yeah, and there's 2 pieces, there's the tax.
So yes, we need a vote on it, or not?
Susan, your microphone's not on, so what is this?
It's a excavation tax. They put in a notice to excavate. They never came back with their report of how much they moved. So that being the case, is that?
So they've come back in for another excavation.
Is that gravel or timber? Yeah, yeah, so we made up the tax bill for them based on the estimate instead of what their report
Okay.
would have been.
So the reason it doubled is because they didn't report out from last year what they
Correct.
actually did.
Correct.
Like a penalty, okay.
Was that a timber? That might have been a timber, not a gravel, but either way, that's what that is.
It looks like timber.
Yeah, it was timber. We chased them for a year trying to get that report, and DRA finally just said.
It's timber,
Do
Susan,
this,
yeah.
yeah.
Okay, this is, yeah, we need to sign it, see? Yeah, these are, all of these need to be signed. And this here is for automobile recycling yard, motor vehicle junkyard license for Whitney's Garage.
I saw that, and I know it's done every year, but is that checked by the state? Is that checked by Pedro? Is that, we're giving them a license. Has anybody inspected the
In the
property?
past, especially when it hadn't been done in years. We sent out the health inspector or the building inspector to take a look. You can do that before you sign it if you like. They expire March 31st every year. So.
Yeah, I mean, we automatically sign it, and all of a sudden, we get a complaint because there's trucks on the side of the road or whatever, so it might be worth sending.
Yeah, they did them all several years ago.
Either one, maybe Pedro down or whoever.
Do you want me to ask him to go out
Yeah,
before?
or the health, well,
You
Pedro's
can-
probably more up. Although, I don't
Just
know.
take a look.
Could open a can of worms, too.
Do you want to sign it, and then if everything's okay, I'll,
So we'll go ahead and sign it, Susan, with the understanding that
I'll just hold it till.
you'll hold it until we
Yeah.
get Pedro's field visit?
Correct.
Okay.
I do. A couple things. So, since the warrant article for the solar exemption passed, if a property owner, Susan, if a property owner already has that on file, do they need to submit another one? Or how is that gonna work?
I think it's just gonna switch over. I'll double check with Katie, but I think if you've already got the exemption, it's just gonna switch to the new, the assessed value is gonna change, and they're gonna meet it by 100%, which is exactly what they did before, only they called it 5,000 versus.
Right,
yeah.
right.
So I believe any of the current ones are okay, but anybody right now that isn't aware that we offer that, they might wanna know, because it's gonna cost a lot more. Yeah, I will make sure that,
So will all of the homeowners who have a solar exemption on record be notified that their assessed values changes?
if they don't have the exemption, we put a
So if
notice.
they, okay, you're saying two different things. If they have the exemption, they don't have to do anything. If they haven't filed for an exemption,
Right.
they have to come in and file for an exemption.
So when our house was assessed, the exemption's only $5,000 as it stood.
Right.
But our solar was assessed at a higher value.
So now it will meet the higher value.
So the okay, so will we get is our property card gonna be updated? How are the homeowners gonna be notified that this change went into effect?
We've put something on the website. I had Adam put something on Facebook, just to make sure people who are putting, there's a lot of people with new solar arrays, they might not be aware there's an exemption. And now it's more important than ever because the assessed value is gonna be that much higher.
Okay, I still don't think I have my answer.
Do
All
you,
right,
do you
okay.
want us to notify everybody with a solar array? I mean,
We've got the information out there.
Okay, all right, okay.
they have until April 15th, so anybody that doesn't have it done should.
So are we done with that one for the moment?
I think so.
All right, I have a question on this. There is a notice of intent to excavate, and it's for Torromeo.
Yeah.
And there's signature block for us.
Yeah.
But there's also something that says amount of security required, dollar amount, there's nothing filled in, and security posted, bond, et cetera, et cetera. I mean, that's not filled in, so I don't know what our.
I don't think they usually do that.
We don't do
I can take
that?
it back and check it for next week if you'd like. But
I'd like to check that, because, I mean, that's sort of the town's security on this, and, I mean, before we.
Yeah, I know, yeah.
Is
Right,
that-
I would
is-
assume
is-
they would have either never done it, or maybe it's time.
Well,
I mean,
have we
Have
not?
we ever done it?
not that I recall on the ones that I've seen, but we
I'm
don't do a
curious.
lot of
Torromeo
excavations.
has been here a lot of years.
I'm curious if that's kind of different, like if a landowner comes in, like Parks was gonna come in, he was gonna excavate some sand,
Yeah.
he's gotta put a number in that. This is an operating pit in the town that they do a yearly permit. Is that what that is?
It's going to the state.
Yeah, he does it every year, right, the same permit?
Yes, this is for next
So I don't
year.
know how you
It's
put a
got
number in there.
$100 check attached.
That goes to
Well,
the
that's the
state.
application fee, I assume.
All right, Susan, can you check that out
Yep.
for us before this goes any further?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
And then, for the volunteer forms, I wanted to talk about that. And Paula, this probably involves you. So, this form that we're asking people to sign is releasing, so if they're volunteering for the town, we're asking them to sign something, and I probably need clarification on this, that if they get hurt while volunteering, there's no claim against the town. That's what we're asking them to sign.
I don't think so. But
Well, okay.
It says that if they, if it's by action on their part, so if they created something that, let's say, I'm doing something in here, I'm volunteering, and I put stuff all over the floor, and then I tripped on it, that's my fault. It means I can't sue the town for that. Doesn't mean that I can't sue the town if, I'm not saying this would happen, but like at the recycling center, if I had to go on a ladder and I fell.
Right.
It wasn't my fault. That's not what this is saying.
Because this, it really, I mean, I've had a couple people come up to me and say they read it the other way, where we're asking people to volunteer. So I don't know if we can add something else to this form that's saying, in that exception, that they are covered. Because this, if you just read it quickly, it says you're fully responsible for your own safety, and that you're indemnifying and holding harmless the town. And I understand, I highlighted it, the last sentence says arising from my negligence, reckless, whatever. But, so our insurance covers volunteers.
This is from our insurance, this is what we've used, so yeah, I will ask them again. But from what I understand, it's if it's their negligence, the person's negligence.
I believe we have to have the forms to denote that they volunteer for the town. I think that's standard procedure. The form is provided by the insurance company?
Yeah, I've had it. I didn't get it recently, it was from before me, but yes, this was from the insurance
So
company.
maybe it's time to update it.
I can look at Primex and see.
Right. I think we should still go forward with these and keep moving forward and start, I mean, we're not gonna drop everything and go get new forms, right?
No, but I know that there's some people who won't have their volunteers sign it until they get clarification, because if they sign it and they give their rights away and they get hurt, you know, they just want to guarantee that if they're volunteering for the town and we're appointing them by signing it,
yeah,
that if they then hurt themselves through no fault of their own, we want to guarantee that they're covered.
I will say that this came up with, Ernie Landry had asked me for the form a few months back, and I did look on Primex, and it's the exact same wording.
Okay. If you could just make a quick call to them, make sure that we're not making our volunteers give away their rights for redress in case we're negligent.
Right, and that's the,
really
right, I mean,
bottom line.
we're urging people to volunteer, but if the other hand, we say, if you hurt yourself, you're on your own, you know, we're kind of shooting ourselves in the foot. And I don't know if we can then just add a little, just some sort of clarification. I understand this is from the insurance company.
Right.
That's why I want more clarification. Because
Well,
they want, you know, they're risk adverse, so they're trying to hedge their bets.
But people, we live in a litigious society, they're gonna sue no matter what they sign.
Understood.
Okay.
Understood. But I'm just addressing this because it was brought to my attention.
Okay, that sounds good. Yep.
Rick looked like he had something he wanted to say, probably from an attorney's perspective.
Yeah.
And I realize he's not the town's attorney, but
The bottom line is that if someone's negligence is only carelessness, if they're careless themselves, then they may well not be covered, okay? But if they're going down the stairs here, for example, and there's a national standard, you have the step and you have the riser, and there's a certain number of inches it's supposed to be, and if they don't meet those and they fall, that's not their own negligence, so they would be able to recover, okay? So if it's something that the town does that creates the hazardous circumstance, and they're not
Right.
careless,
Yeah.
then they're covered. But if they're careless themselves, what this seems to say is that they're not. But if the insurance company wants them to sign something, then it would make sense to do that, because they probably would argue, we're not gonna cover it because you didn't have them sign that. So obviously, it's in the town's best interest to have them sign a waiver, even though, like, as you said, Ellie, that they can probably sue you anyway.
No matter what, right.
So,
Right.
so that's would just, I don't know if that's helpful, but whatever.
Okay. I wouldn't want us to make any changes to the form if this came from the insurance company. If you could just validate for us that this is the same form they want us to use, that we're correct in the assumption or the presumption that it's if they get hurt due to our negligence, they're covered. But if they're negligent, they don't. If that, just clarify that, Paula, that'd be great. Did I stipulate that okay?
Yep, thank you.
And Mr.
Okay. So one thing that isn't on the agenda, but I'd like the board to think about and perhaps even act on, one of the articles that did pass fairly significantly was the permission to allow us to provide a long-term 4-year option to Revision Energy for looking at the landfill for possible solar farm.
Right.
We currently have an option agreement with them for only 1 year, because that's all the RSA allowed us to do until we got this passed, and it has been passed. So I'd like us to. I'm going to make a motion, and we'll see where it goes.
Okay.
A motion to modify that option agreement to be a 4-year agreement from the current 1 year.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Second, but how, the warrant article said 1 year.
No.
What did the
No,
warrant
it's
article?
5 years, up to 5 years.
Up to 5.
Oh, okay.
And Revision, I believe, wanted a 4-year option.
And we said at the time that as long as the vote is passed, that we would modify the current 1-year contract with them to be up to 4 years.
Yep.
Right.
Accordingly.
Right, and the sooner that we get this done, the sooner it turns them on to starting the process, getting us the permission to do the interconnection, to get the, with Unitil and so forth, and it gets them started on all that background work they have to do.
Okay.
So we need a modified contract.
Well, I think, if this vote here passes, Susan, let's see where it goes.
Okay.
But
It's been moved and seconded.
Yes.
All right. Any further discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
Okay,
So
so
we're good.
Susan, if, and if you want me to be working with you, I can, but I think we need to pull that agreement and maybe get in touch with Revision and see what, do we need to have a whole new thing drafted with the current, or can we just modify the 1 year to be 4 years? I don't know.
Yeah, I want to look at it, because I don't know if there was provision in there that if it passed.
We had talked about it at our meeting.
Yeah, so
So if-
It was clearly discussed at our meeting with them.
Right,
Yeah.
right, but we don't know how the we don't remember what the wording
Right,
says, and
right.
whether or
Look
not
at
we
it,
can
and
just,
I'll talk to them.
whether or not we can just trigger that, or whether we have to draft a new agreement.
Okay.
So Susan, if you could just check on that and,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. No problem. These are another set of the volunteers for solid waste. Is that the ones we're holding off on, or?
No, we can sign it.
Okay.
I just wanted to talk
Oh,
to
okay.
them before I put my names or something.
All right, and Peter, you had an item you wanted to bring up.
Probably not a discussion that can be 100% dealt with tonight, but I'd like to bring it to the board's attention. First of all, I'm recently doing an addition at my property, so I've become very interactive with the building inspector. I knew Pedro. And I have to say, very nice guy, squared away, nothing but positive feedback. But as a contractor myself, working in many towns, your first connection with the town as a contractor is the inspector and how they present themselves to you as they come into your yard and you look at what's going on. So the contract, the building inspector prior had a vehicle, had a sticker on the door. I understand there's some magnets coming for this guy's car, but he pulls in my yard in a car that was bought at a public auction for like $2,000. It's probably not in the best of shape. And if I didn't know Pedro, I wouldn't know who that guy was. Now, a magnetic sign on the door, from experience, tells me that's an outside contractor, not an employee of a town. So my question to this board, that you guys were all here, what was the decision that you made on that car, that building inspector's vehicle that was here?
Well, Phil can probably speak to this. The vehicle that we had prior is not roadworthy, and it needs thousands of dollars worth of repair. And so we didn't have a choice. So it was use your own car, and he gets reimbursed for mileage.
Okay, I think what I'm getting at is, there's been other scuttlebutt that possibly it wasn't that expensive to fix that vehicle. And instead of going to public auction, maybe we should have looked at having that vehicle fixed. If he gets in an accident, as an employee of this town, I understand you're paying him mileage and whatever that's gonna be. But I guess, you know, what was the quote for like $2,400 to have an outside person fix this car, and what we're paying him for mileage. And I think there's probably somebody down at that town garage who could probably fix that vehicle for a lot less than $2,400 and put it back on the road and use it. And I just think that if, like, God forbid, he gets in an accident and he's in his own vehicle, now he doesn't have a vehicle. So does that mean he doesn't have a job? He's an employee of this town, and we had a town vehicle that could have been used. And even if it was $2,000 to fix it, but I think it possibly could have been fixed cheaper, more affordable. And I just think when somebody pulls into your yard, and I know the guy, okay, I know him, I met him downstairs, I love the guy, he's a great guy, but somebody that doesn't know him, and you see that vehicle pull in, now we're gonna put a magnetic sign on the side of that car, he's representing the town. And I was just kind of curious how much actual work went into the repair of that vehicle. Because I asked him, I said, what happened to the vehicle? He goes, oh, the motor blew up. Well, apparently the motor didn't blow up.
Phil, can you speak to that? But I do know last year when we talked about this with the tight budget, we weren't even going to come up off of a couple of grand to fix it. So, and we only had a part-time building inspector at the time anyway, but Phil can probably speak to what's wrong with the vehicle.
At the time, it was $644.85 for numerous small things, a battery for $117, and $1,450 for the exhaust. I believe there was also some rust repair that needed to take place for it to be passable for inspection. I forwarded this to the former chair on August 31st of 2023. I did not hear anything further on the matter.
So that's about, what, $3,000?
Yeah, it was like 3,500.
3,500.
I did not get a quote for the body work to be done.
Okay.
Do we still have the vehicle, Bill?
Yes.
We do.
And it's not being used, correct?
Correct.
You want to look into it,
Yeah,
Mr. Baker?
I would. I would like to look into it, if there's a possibility that could be revisited.
Okay.
I think maybe there's an avenue there. And I think it would be I think it could be repaired.
Okay, all right.
That's all I'm saying.
Then we'll charge you with following up on that and see what you can find out
Thank you.
for us. Okay, any other business before we go on to committee work and liaison?
We need a vote to accept a $100 donation to conservation from the Hauser Family Trust.
Okay, move that we,
Motion to accept the donation.
yeah, you go right ahead.
Motion to accept the donation as Susan stated,
Second.
Discussion.
with thanks.
With many
to the
thanks.
to the donor.
Any discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no. Okay.
Do you say no, Chuck?
I did.
Oh, yeah, we need to approve the minutes, but we're still gonna, of the last meeting for March 4th. Have a motion?
Motion to approve the minutes as written.
In a second? Discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries.
And that my
One
motion was,
abstention?
my
Okay, yeah,
motion was for both the public and non-public.
public and non-public, correct.
While we're on the subject of minutes, Madam Chair,
Yeah.
I'd like to make a motion to seal the minutes of our previous non-public session tonight.
In perpetuity?
In perpetuity, yes.
Okay, in a second? Second. Discussion? All in favor, please say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? No. Robert was yeah. Passed unanimously. Okay. You had a list of liaison appointments, potentials in your packets. And let's take it from the top and rock and roll right through them. First one is for planning board, and I did express interest. I'd like to do that. I've never served on the planning board. I'm probably out of my mind doing it now, but I think I still like to try it out. Anyone else interested?
I just have something just to put on the table.
Sure.
I mean, I appreciate the fact that you're interested in doing it. I would like the board, though, to consider the fact that the board has just lost an experienced, the planning board has just lost an experienced member by Mr. Bakey joining this board, and they also have a resignation of another experienced board member who's going to have to be, that position will have to be filled by appointment by the planning board. So there'll be two spots, and if both spots are filled by folks who have not, done planning board work before, it's a significant gap to that board, I think, for knowledge. And I really think that the logical, not that I'm looking for extra work to do, but I think that the logical choices on this board would be Peter or myself, under the circumstances. However, if you really want to do it and that's the will of the board, I'm not going to force the issue. So.
Who's the other resignation on, who's the resignation?
Steve Padfield, the former owner of Memories, had been living in town even though he sold his business, but he has resigned, I believe, and because he's moved out of town.
Okay.
Well, I don't know, I served, go ahead, Phil.
Just a point of clarification, the chair is the only person who can serve in anyone else's stead without appointment. So in the past, the chair has not taken on other roles on other boards, because if someone is absent, the chair can fill in without a letter of appointment to the board.
Correct.
So I'm not trying to dissuade you from joining the planning board, but you're also the one to fill in the gaps here and there.
Peter?
Well, last chair to our board was the chair.
Right.
Correct.
So, yeah, I don't know what's the difference.
I just, and I brought it up to him, and I just wanted to bring it up here, is that if anyone else fills in beyond you as the appointed chair, they would have to go to the town clerk and be appointed as an interim for that, so that any votes that take place are valid.
Right? We could have an alternate.
And that doesn't dissuade you from being on the planning board. What I'm saying is you will also be the one who fills in for other people on top of that assignment. So
I do know that. That I do know. I guess maybe because I've been on the zoning board for 25 years, I don't feel I'm totally a rookie. Though it's different. I do know that. Don't get me wrong.
Oh no, I
recognize
understand.
that. I do recognize that. So I don't know. What do you guys think? Go ahead, Peter.
I think you both have valid points, and you have valid in the position. I think Glenn would be a great person because he's been there, and Ellie, I think you'd be a great person because you've had the experience with the ZBA, and if we had some really tough questions or issues, you could reach out. There's a lot of us around that could help you out.
I'd like to give it a try, to be very honest with you. It's something I've always wanted to do and never had the chance. I'm not going to jump into all the other committees. I'll do some, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying I'm not going to do anything else, but I'm not going to take on as much anyway, so.
So I think I have just a general question.
Sure.
What's our philosophy for these appointments? So do we want to change them every year, or are we going to settle in? You're shaking your head no. That was two questions.
I definitely think you shouldn't settle. I definitely think you shouldn't settle in.
Okay.
I think we should have experience, because you'd get comfortable in a spot.
Yeah.
And I think it's really important that as a select person in this town, you familiarize yourself
Right.
with all different applications. Now, if there's something that you truly shine over maybe another member,
Yeah.
then why reinvent the wheel, because you're really good at it.
Right.
But I think the experience would be very good, and maybe you're saying yearly, or?
Yeah, I mean, every year when we have to
Yeah.
This time
reappoint.
next year, we do the same.
Right, so
Yeah,
then,
we
so.
talk about it.
Right, so
Absolutely.
then we can, not necessarily, do a round robin, but you'd have the opportunity in a year to,
Correct.
okay.
I think it's a great idea.
All right, I'm putting my name down there. I'm making an executive decision. I really want to try it. I guess that's the best way I can describe it.
And point being, if you get on it and the projects come up and you're not, I mean, we can always change people too. Somebody
we
could
can.
come back in or.
All right, so-
Everything, so.
I was gonna say, for that one, we have to appoint an alternate.
Well, and we're going to need to appoint alternates for 3 of these positions because the Planning Board, the Historic District Commission, and the Heritage Commission have ex officio spots. They're official voting spots on those boards, and we should be appointing an alternate to each of those spots.
And that makes sense to do that.
So I'll appoint Glenn as the alternate for the planning board. I mean, I nominate Glenn.
It's fine with me. Peter, you want to do it?
For the planning board?
Yeah, as alternate?
Yeah, I don't mind.
Well,
Oh, one of you.
Right, which
Well,
one of you?
Rock, paper, scissors?
Well, you want, why don't you do it? You want to do it? I'm looking at a couple other boards that I want to kind of learn about too, so.
oh, that's fine, all
All
right,
right, so alternate is Glenn?
all right.
Okay. All righty, inspectors. That's
Is that the building department inspectors?
Yeah.
I'd be interested in that. I've been in building for over 20 years. I kind of get a good idea what's going on.
Okay.
I don't claim to be an electrician, but I do know how the program works, and I think I could communicate pretty well with them.
Yeah, we used to have monthly meetings with the inspectors. In fact, Phil used to run them when he was on the board as well.
Good idea.
They are.
Yes. Well, and we're going to be up here on Thursday at the same time, so that there's a conflict there because we have the recount.
We had the recount this week.
Peter, and your mic isn't on, but just for argument's sake, just so the board's clear, and I have no issue if you feel you want to do it. Do you think you have any issue with the fact that as a contractor, you're probably down there applying for permits on a pretty regular basis?
No.
You're not?
No, absolutely. I just pulled the first one, the second one in Kingston in 20 years.
Okay.
That was for yourself,
That was
right?
myself. Yeah, no, I don't think that'd be an issue, and if it was, I'd refuse myself from that whole situation, to be honest with you. I'm not saying I'm never gonna do work in this town again.
Oh, of
but
course not.
I don't think that would bother me as a liaison to those to the inspectors. And, I'll ask them.
If you had told me, oh yeah, I'm down there every week pulling permits,
Oh,
I'm
no,
thinking to
no.
myself, well, maybe that's not such a good idea.
No. Yeah.
Okay, all right,
All right, I'm good with that.
I'm okay with that.
Historic District Commission.
I'd like to take that.
Okay. And this is one of the ones where we need an alternate, correct?
Yes.
You would like to be an alternate to the HDC?
I'm happy to be the alternate. I mean, I've been the rep I was the planning board's rep for many years, probably, anyway, a lot of years, so I can do that.
Okay. Budget Committee.
I guess that's me, huh?
All right, Mr. Chuck. And I know I'll probably go to some meetings. Laurie and I went to some of the meetings last year anyway.
Yeah, I would
Set
go to
meetings.
I'd go to them anyway. Yeah.
Okay, Heritage Commission.
Are you currently doing it?
I'm currently doing it, and I'm happy to continue doing it, unless someone else wants to, and I could be the alternate, however you prefer.
Well, let's put you in as the
I'll-
liaison with, we need an alternate.
Well, that's a voting position, so.
Oh, so I'll be the alternate.
So that's more than liaison.
All right, so how about Glenn and then Lori's the alternate?
All right.
All right.
Conservation Commission.
I'll stay on that if you want.
Chuck, okay. Solar Committee.
That has been me, and I'm happy to continue with it. The committee is not active at the moment because we've already, the committee brought the proposal to this select board, the select board acted on it, and that's the agreement that we talked about tonight. So until such time as there's a reason for the committee to meet, it's really not an active committee. So
And I was the appointed alternate, so I'm happy to stay that way too, because
So-
it's just kind of dormant right now.
right, so we can leave those two in place the way they are,
Solar committee needs an alternate?
Glenn and Lori.
Yeah, it did, I don't know why.
It doesn't.
I was appointed the alternate for that.
Right, from the select board.
Yeah, I don't know why, so.
I don't know either. Library trustees. They meet on Monday night, so it's not like we can go to their meetings.
I know, that's a,
You were doing it, right, Ellie?
Yeah, because I'm also a friend of the library, so.
Do you want to continue, or do you
I don't
want to
have
give
a-
it up?
No, I don't mind continuing, it's not a lot of.
yeah, we can't go to the meetings because it's on
No.
Monday nights.
So,
But it then ends up being sort of the liaison to the library,
the
right?
library, yeah, exactly, that's fine, that's no problem.
You're okay with that?
Yeah, I am, absolutely. Kingston Days.
I know that's kind of a defunct issue, the Kingston Days.
This year.
It's not happening this year, but I think I'd like to get on that committee.
Okay,
I think I actually would enjoy that.
all right,
So we'll see what we can do with it. And
Okay.
hopefully we can get something going forward in the town. I'm the guy that's talking about all the public stuff, so hopefully maybe we can make something work.
sounds like a plan. Solid waste and
I'll keep it, I'm there every other weekend anyway. It only makes sense.
okay, cable station.
Is that even a thing?
A cable station, that used to be a thing.
It's not a thing anymore, right?
It's gonna be a temporary thing until we get sound in here. It's gonna be me, sorry.
All right.
So it's going to be you, Ellie?
Yeah.
All right.
I might need a backup, but backup's gonna be Phil. He's gonna be my muscle.
Do you want another board member as a backup?
Not yet, no.
Okay.
No, but I may reach out. MS4 committee.
Is that a thing still?
It is. Do we know who on the board was currently doing that?
You
Was it me?
supposed to,
I
yeah.
feel like it was you, but I don't think
I
they meet.
have last year's list. You-
Oh.
All right, Glenn, you're on that.
All right, I'm on it. Will somebody please make sure I get notified of meetings? Thank you very much.
Oh my God, too funny.
Paula?
Who? I did.
Budget committee.
I'll be the alternate.
It is a voting member, yeah.
It is. We should keep an eye on legislation that is currently in Concord. You're aware of that? Okay. I don't know what the status of the bill is, but it was to make the select board representative to the budget committee a non-voting position.
Oh, that's interesting. As of today.
Correct. Right.
Did you want to get on and get?
Yeah, Peter, did you want to be the alternate for that?
For the
Budget.
budget, I was kind of going the other way on the budget. I'm trying to get something else going with this.
Okay, all
But
right.
yeah, I could, I'll get onto that. I don't mind.
As alternate.
You don't
As an
do
alternate.
as an alternate.
As an
Okay.
alternate.
Conservation. Okay, wage benefits committee. I've been on that one.
So that's you, Ellie, right?
Yeah.
You want to continue with that?
I do like that.
Do you want to back up, just in case? Or do you want to just call for help when you
I'll
need
call
it?
for help if I need it.
Okay.
Yeah. And since you're the vice chair, you would be it.
That's fine, that's fine.
All right, highway liaison.
Well, before you do that, last year we had a 79E
Oh, right.
representative, which was Glenn.
And that was me.
What is that?
That is the community revitalization statute that the town voted in, and it allows for temporary tax relief for certain projects, and the only one I believe that we've issued to this point is the seminary project.
Okay.
They
So
got
unless someone applies, you wouldn't have a need
Okay.
to.
right. So it's not an active committee, but it would be activated if we get an application.
Okay.
We'll leave you on.
So,
there,
I'll-
Glenn,
yeah, that's fine.
So clarification for me, we jumped back up the budget committee, that wasn't that MS4, right? Which one?
Nope, this
Budget
is
committee.
one that doesn't show on this list.
I'm talking about the budget committee, for me, as the alternate.
It's the fourth one down.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, so
Right.
we jumped back up to the top, all right.
Yeah.
I want to just make sure, okay, thank
Yeah,
you.
we're ping-ponging all over the place.
It's over, and maybe we're
Yeah.
done.
Okay, thank
Chuck,
you.
did we miss anything else from last year?
No.
Okay, all right.
Okay, department liaisons, highway.
I'd like to take that.
Fire,
I'll take that again.
Chuck. Police,
I'll take the police department.
town clerk.
You can't take that. That's a no.
That's all like, I don't want it. That's what that is.
Well, no, you can't have it.
You'll take town clerk? Sure. Okay. Okay, finance, I'll take that. Recreation,
I've had that one, so I can continue with it if you'd like.
unless anyone else, no, library?
Oh, there's the library for the liaison.
Yeah.
Do you want to do it, or do you want me to do it?
I'll still, it's half a dozen, one or the other, because I'll still go to, I'm there every Friday playing cribbage, I might as well pick up some other stuff too. Okay, museum?
I'd like to take that this year.
Okay. And board, administration, assessing, building, that's downstairs.
That's new.
Had a liaison the last few years, I'm not sure why or how that was.
You want to do that one, Peter? You're going to be downstairs with the inspectors now.
Yeah,
No,
that's
okay.
probably not me, to be honest.
Maybe me?
Okay, you put you, Glenn.
Human services isn't on this list, not sure why.
Oh, add that on.
Yeah,
It's currently me, I'm happy to keep it unless someone else wants to do it.
okay, no, we'll leave you right on there.
And did you want to talk about school?
So, I don't want to open a can of worms here, but I think the discussion came up before, is why we don't have a liaison to the school board
That's a
in
good
this,
question.
in the school budget committee. I think,
Because we have no effective, they're own separate entity. They don't come to us, we don't go to them.
Understood, but you can still have conversations.
Oh, sure.
Well, we have unofficial conversations. I know I do, I have to be honest with you, I do talk to the superintendent very
I mean, maybe we should, maybe, if you wouldn't mind, I'm asking you, if you maybe would get their input.
Sure.
We don't want to like force ourselves down their throat, but even though they're their own entity, they are a part of our town.
Yep.
And
Well,
they are on our tax
They
bill.
take 85% of our
Right.
tax dollars.
Exactly, so I
Even though
think,
we get blamed for 110%.
yeah, so, yeah. I mean, it's an idea, I'm
I'll reach out
thinking,
to Dr. Ambrose and ask him what he thinks and what we can.
Thank
And then
you.
Peter would be the liaison, since it's his brainchild.
Yeah,
Right?
I
Is that
know.
right? Okay, all right, good.
Better you than me, there's no question about that. Okay, let me read these through, to make sure I get it right for everybody. Planning Board CIP is myself with Glenn as an alternate. Inspectors is Peter. HDC is Laurie with Glenn as a backup. Budget Committee is Chuck with Peter as a backup. Heritage is Glenn with Laurie as a backup. Conservation is Chuck. Solar is Glenn with Laurie as a backup. Library Trustees is myself. Kingston Days is Peter. Solid Waste and Recycling is Laurie. Cable Station is me. MS4 is Glenn. And Wage Benefits is myself. And 79E is Glenn. On the departments, Highway is Laurie. Fire is Chuck. Police is Peter. Town Clerk is Chuck. Finance is myself, Recreation is Glenn, Library is myself, Museum is Laurie, and Board Administration and Assessing is Glenn, Human Services is Laurie, and School District to be determined.
Sounds good.
How does that sound, ladies and gentlemen?
Fantastic.
Wow, good job done.
Matches my notes.
Good job done. Any other business to come before us this evening? Speak now or forever hold your peace. The meeting is adjourned at 9:01.